folks. Let's do this. I'm talking NBA Finals. Boston Celtics are up 2-0 on the Dallas Mavericks right now. I'm recording this Wednesday afternoon. Got about 4 hours until the game comes, so talk about being on top of things. I know this is going to age poorly very quickly, but that's fine. I'll record another video. I'm not even going to cover the finals too much because I wasn't able to catch the first two games much, honestly. That's why I haven't posted about it yet. I just got back from my best friend's wedding. I was one of the groomsmen. That was really cool. We, had a good time. But game one was the night of the bachelor party, so you can imagine I didn't catch much of that. We actually went axe throwing. That was really cool. I've never done that before. I don't know if any of you have ever done that. They let us drink when we threw axes, and there wasn't there was a cap or a hard cap or a couple of drinks. It was no, you guys just drink as much as you want, and if you start acting a little weird, I might have to cut you off. And luckily, none of us did, but I was a little bit surprised by that. But anyways, I just want to talk about the series a little bit so far. I mean, you kind of have already heard it all, and like I said, I didn't catch much of the first two games aside from online discourse, so you've probably heard most of it. Game one was the Kristaps game. Porzingis was awesome. I think it kind of goes without saying that he completely changes the Celtics when he's around. Their whole team dynamic. He's one of their most important players. I've been saying that all season. The news actually just came out yesterday that something happened to him. I'm not even going to try and tell you what happened to him because I'm going to be real. I don't even understand half the words that were in that report. You can just go and read it for yourself. But needless to say, he's game to game. I think it's some sort of leg injury. I don't expect him to play tonight, but I'm not Woj, so don't quote me on that. Game two was kind of the Drew Holiday game. It was a little bit closer for the Mavs. It wasn't a complete blowout like game one. They had it within single digits towards the end of the game, but Boston finally started hitting their threes at the end of the game, which they weren't doing the rest of the game. People have kind of been pointing out that the Mavericks should maybe be a little bit worried because if Boston shot that poorly from three and they still won the game, how's Dallas expect to pick up a win? And I definitely see where they're coming from on that end. However, I don't think that's really the end-all, be-all. There are other ways that I think Dallas can beat this Boston team. I mean, you have Luka on your team, for crying out loud. Coming into this series, I was telling people I hope he averages 60 points a game just so it makes the Wolves look a little bit better, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but, you never know with Luka. He could give you a 50 or 60 bomb in one of these games and just win you the game by himself. And people have been very, as they always are, quick to kind of just jump on the doomsday of it, doom and gloom of it all. Oh, the series is 2-0. It's already over. Terrible finals. It's probably going to be a sweep. Dude, it's been 2 games. Okay, relax. Boston won their home games, which was what they're supposed to do. And, to be fair, they don't usually win their home games, especially in the playoffs. So that does, 1 point to the people that are saying the series is over, I guess. But but there's still a lot of games left. Dallas, they should be mildly worried, I think, but it's by no means is it over. They just got to win these home games, defend home court. All they got to do is take one in Boston after that, which, like I said, these past few seasons, with the Jays around, it hasn't been that tough of a task, honestly, in the playoffs to win a game in Boston. I just want to talk a little bit about. Did I even mention? Hold on. Did I even mention Drew Holiday from Game 2? I need to slow my roll here. Did I mention Drew Holiday Game 2? What do you have, 26 points or something like that? I didn't know that dude still had it in him to do that. I think it's very helpful for him that he's not, the second or third scoring option anymore. Now he's the fourth or fifth. And because when he was in Milwaukee, he started declining, especially when Middleton was out. He just could not create in the playoffs, and I was really impressed with what he did. I think a big part of that, though, is Jason Tatum helping create. I know people have been very hard on Tatum up to this point, because he has struggled a lot in the finals and kind of just the playoffs as a whole in terms of scoring. However, I've been very impressed with him on all aspects outside of scoring. He's played great one-on-one defense, on ball, off ball, great team and help defense. Had some great playmaking and decision making, good passing, and a lot of people have been criticizing him for continuing to chuck up shots, even though his shot is not going in. But I say Tatum keep doing that because that's what allows a guy like Drew Holiday to score 26 in a game when he is still aggressive, putting his head down, driving to the basket, and they have to send an extra defender at him, leaving a guy open. And a team like Boston that just has so many three-point shooters, that can be very volatile for the other team. But with Tatum struggling with all of his scoring, there's been a lot of discourse around who is the Celtics' best player. And, Jason Kidd gave an interview where he called Jaylen Brown their best player. People thought it was like mind games and stuff. To be honest, I kind of feel like this whole discourse is kind of silly and dumb. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care all that much. I was going to come in here and try and just talk about it anyway, but instead I came up with a way better idea because, I don't know, I got to be different and weird and nerdy. I was just kind of thinking that this Celtics team, it's five different guys that, I mean, they're all good on their own, but they, what separated, let's just talk about Kristaps or Derek White. Derek White was on the Spurs a few years ago, and he was good, but, the Spurs sucked. How about Kristaps? He was on the Wizards, and he was good, but the Wizards sucked. These guys on their own are nothing special, really, but when they all come together, the five of them combine into one ultimate beast that is just impossible to destroy. And it reminds me a lot of Exodia for my Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there. So instead of debating who the Celtics' best player is, I kind of want to debate the Exodia Celtics. Which player is which piece of Exodia, and is it possible to take these guys down? So starting with the main part, the head of Exodia, it's a little lame, it's a little boring, but I think it's got to be Tatum. He kind of is like the epicenter of this team. He is the best player. I said I wasn't going to get into it, but come on, he's their best player. He's been struggling to score, but come on. He's the head of Exodia. He's the most important piece. He has the effect. He's the guy. And now, getting into the other pieces of Exodia, this seems a little. This seems so stupid now that I'm getting into it because they're just arms and legs, and what's even the difference? But I'm going with it as I go along. Okay, I feel like the right arm is the second most important because you're like, that's my right hand man. Right arm is the dominant arm. Left arm. I mean, I'm a lefty, but for the most part, left arm is useless. Okay. The right arm, I think that's got to be Jaylen Brown. Jason Kidd might argue he's the head of Exodia, but Jason Kidd's a terrible coach and a stupid basketball mind, and I'm here to correct him and tell him, no, Jaylen Brown is most definitely the right arm of Exodia. The left arm, we'll come back to that because I want to get to the legs. Because the legs, I feel like people maybe will prioritize the arms over the legs because, you can shoot, you can fight, do whatever you want with your arms, but Exodia couldn't stand without legs. I think the legs are the foundation, the building blocks. You need them there, otherwise you're not the same. And so that's why, going back to what I was talking about, Kristaps Porzingis, he has to be one of the legs of Exodia. He's just sturdy, holds you up, keeps them in place. He is undoubtedly a leg of Exodia. And I think the other leg is going to have to be Derek White. Derek White, it kind of depends game to game. He kind of shapeshifts and does what he needs to do, what the Celtics need him to do, depending on the game, and I really respect that out of a player. He's not always looking to just get his buckets, get his points. He's looking to play defense, guard one of the toughest players on the opposing team, and you can't do anything but respect that. I am realizing, though, that the legs, Exodia is going to look ridiculous and lopsided if Kristaps Porzingis and Derek White are the two legs. That's at least a foot difference between those guys. But still. still, you got to do what you got to do, Exodia. You're standing strong, and so I think that leaves the left arm as Drew Holiday. I do not mean that as a knock against him by any means, because hey, you know, he's still a part of Exodia, an unbeatable, indestructible beast, helping this team potentially win their first ring since what was it, like 08, 09, something like that. So that's the Celtics as Exodia pieces. I think I can move on from that. Overall, just for this series in general, I just kind of wanted to reiterate that Dallas is down, but not out. I do think there's a way to stop Exodia. If you watch the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, you know Yugi took out one of the rare hunters in season 2 who had Exodia. It wasn't that hard. His deck kind of sucked. So it might seem impossible, but it's really just improbable. I think Dallas still has a shot at this.